Thanks a Lot Universe by Chad Lucas. For Team Lucas and for super awkward weirdos everywhere. Chapter 1, Super Awkward Weirdo Syndrome. Brian. Shoot. Don't overthink. Just shoot. The command flashed in my brain as I caught the pass. I was coiled and ready with a clean view of the hoop. Still, I hesitated a half-second too long. By the time I let fly, Ezra Komisarek was running toward me with his hands outstretched, and I launched the ball too high. The shot fell short, grazing the rim just enough to spare me the humiliation of an air ball. No big deal, everybody misses sometimes. I didn't shoot again all game. My miss still haunted me as the bell rang. Everyone drifted into school in groups except me. I walked 2 steps behind Ezra and Ty, listening to them joke around and quote movies they'd watched over the weekend at Ezra's birthday sleepover. I tried to figure out how to join in without triggering a social catastrophe. Brian versus Brian, round 4,222. Me, I could say, "Hey, your birthday was last weekend? Mine's tomorrow." That's an easy conversation starter, right? Also me. Are you kidding? That's a guaranteed train wreck. Me. Also me. Think about it. They'll ask what you're doing for your birthday. You'll mumble, "Not much," reminding everyone you're a friendless loser. So I stayed quiet, as usual. As we filed inside, Ty slowed to fist bump another kid, and Ezra noticed me trailing behind them. "Hey, Brian, good game, huh?" I froze. I was still flushed from playing basketball, which helped disguise the instant layer of fresh sweat covering my face as my brain raced for a reply. "Yeah, good game. You played good defense. Can't believe I missed that shot." None of that came out of my mouth, though. Fine, I squeaked. Fine, that didn't even make sense. Ezra tilted his head, and everyone in earshot paused to bask in my awkwardness. "See you later," I blurted and veered toward the bathroom. I didn't have to pee, I just needed an excuse to change direction. I splashed water on my face to cool down before French class. As I dried off, Victor McLennan walked in. Perfect. He smirked. "What's the matter, Ghost? Having a lunchtime cry?" I hurried out without answering. Just another great lunch hour at Halifax North Junior High. After school, Dad was waiting in the driveway in shorts and his ratty sleeveless Los Angeles Lakers t-shirt. He threw me a one-handed pass. I caught the basketball as I walked toward him. "Hey, B-man," he said, "go change. Let's shoot hoops before dinner." "Can I get a snack first?" I said. Dad tossed me the banana in his other hand. I tucked the ball under my arm and snagged the banana before it hit the pavement. Dad grinned. "Nice catch. Now hurry up." I ditched my backpack inside, called a quick hi to Mom, then headed out with Dad, scarfing down the banana as I walked. A couple of kids were kicking a soccer ball on the field, but the basketball court was empty when we arrived at the park. Shooting around with Dad was fun when we just played, but sometimes he liked to sneak in a father-son talk. I had a suspicion it was one of those days. "So the Big 13 tomorrow," Dad said all casually as we warmed up. I hoisted a shot that banked off the backboard and dropped through the net. "Yeah." "Nice shot." Dad tossed the ball back. "Want to have anyone over for your birthday dinner?" My shoulders tensed and my next shot bounced off the rim. "Not really." Dad dribbled out and swished a jump shot. "You talk to Ezra much these days?" "Sure, one awkward word at a time." "Sometimes." He collected the ball and tossed up a fadeaway. "I know social stuff stresses you out, B-man, but you should make it a goal to hang out with Ezra at least once before the end of the year. He's not a werewolf. He won't bite if you talk to him. Just try." Dad grinned. He was trying to be funny, and it didn't help. I knew he was probably right. Ezra and I were both bench warmers on the basketball team in the winter, and Ezra always joked around with me, even if I didn't say much back. He was one of the only kids who talked to me. Most didn't bother once they realized I was so quiet. The thing was, I did try. Sometimes I spent all morning psyching myself up, rehearsing 3 simple sentences. "Hey, Ezra, you busy after school? Want to play ball?" But when I found him in the hall, he was always with his friends, so I'd bail. Every time. My problem was social anxiety. I secretly called it super awkward weirdo syndrome, or SAWS for short. In crowds, I got sweaty, my mind raced out of control, and the Brian Day, who earned a 97 in English language arts last semester, regressed into a tongue-tied caveman. Me, fine. Mom told me social anxiety was common and nothing to be ashamed of, but that didn't make junior high easier. It didn't make talks with Dad easier either. "Maybe," I said. "Just put yourself out there, B-man. You have to take chances sometimes." Dad bounced me the ball. "Ready to play 21? When we came home after Dad beat me 21-16, the kitchen smelled like tacos. They were cauliflower tacos since Mom was on an eat less meat kick, but they'd probably still taste good. Dad said. Smells great. He walked up behind Mom as she washed dishes and wrapped his arms around her. She squirmed away laughing. Yuck, you're so sweaty. She glanced at me. You worked the old man hard today, huh, Brian? Old man, please. Dad flexed his biceps. Brian gets better every week, though. Once he has a growth spurt, I'm doomed. He peeled off his sweaty shirt. Going to grab a quick shower. I have to go out tonight. Mom's smile disappeared. Tonight? Everett, you know tomorrow is... Of course I know. Wouldn't miss it. Dad tossed his shirt at me. I sidestepped and it landed on the garbage bin. If you leave that there, I'm finally throwing it out, Mom hollered after him. Dad whistled as he disappeared into the bathroom. Mom rolled her eyes. Tell Richie dinner's almost ready, she said to me. She made an exaggerated stink face as I passed. You should wash up too. You're starting to smell like a teenager. I pulled off my t-shirt and lobbed it at her. With a squeal, she threw the dishcloth and nailed me square in the chest, splashing soapy water all the way into my shorts. We both laughed, and Mom gasped when I grabbed the cloth and made like I was going to scrub my armpit with it. Don't you dare! She yanked the cloth away, then she brushed a soap bubble from my belly. We'll order your favorites from the Hungry Chili tomorrow, and ice cream cake for dessert. Anything else you want? Mom wasn't asking the same question Dad asked at the park. She understood my flaws, and she didn't push me like Dad did. Still, I wished I could tell her, order extra food, I'm inviting Ezra for my birthday. Like that would ever happen. I shrugged. Not really, thanks, Mom. She squeezed my shoulder. I bet 13's going to be great. The universe owes you a good year. I hoped Mom was right. Chapter 2. The Juicy Four. Ezra. Here's a tip for making it through junior high. Find a group of friends who will randomly text you ridiculous things. Colby Newcomb, Kevin Sidhu, Ty Marsman, and I had a group chat that cracked me up at least once a day. We called it The Juice. One day, Ty started a text with, "What's the juice, lads?" and the name stuck. On Tuesday night, Kevin got things rolling. Kevin, I've been thinking. Ty, always dangerous, bruh. Kevin, if you could have a pointless superpower, what would it be? Like it can't help anyone and can only make your life a tiny bit better. You can't use it to get rich or powerful. Ty, I want invincible toes so it doesn't hurt when I stub them. Me, do you forget how to walk sometimes, haha? Ty, it's not my fault. My feet grew 3 sizes this year. Kevin, true, they're enormous. Me, my power would be an invincible mouth so I could eat infinite sour candy and never cut my tongue. Ty, if you ate infinite sour candy, you'd go into a sugar coma. Me, then I also want an invincible pancreas. Kevin, invincible pancreas sounds extremely metal. Me, adding it to my list of potential band names. Kevin, what about you, Colby? Where are you at, studying or something? Colby, yeah. Kevin, lol, really? Colby, if I do bad on the math test tomorrow, I'm grounded. Me, that sucks. Your superpower should be math skills. Kevin, that doesn't count. Math skills can help get you rich. Ty, Colby was born with 2 superpowers, rich parents and white privilege. Kevin, hello 911, I'm reporting a 3rd-degree burn. Colby, not funny, bro. Kevin, I lolled though. Ty, just messing with you, Co. Me, do you need help studying? Colby, nah, gotta go. Kevin, I never told you my power yet. Stealth farts, silent and odorless. I could rip one anywhere and no one would ever know. Ty, that's poetry, Kev. I feel it in my soul. We messed around a little longer, dreaming up more tiny powers like automatic minty breath and instantly evaporating sweat. Turned out, Kevin was hung up on smelling fresh. Kevin, smell is connected to memory. It's science. If you're ripe all the time, people will remember you as the stinky guy forever. Colby never came back to the chat. I sent him a private message. Hey, hope studying's going okay. I could come help if you want. Colby and I lived 1 street apart in the Hydrostone district of the North End. We'd been friends since we were little, and we were practically inseparable. The summer between 5th and 6th grade, we hung out so much that Colby's mom started automatically making extra lunch for me. Ty made us a trio on the first day of 6th grade. I always dreaded attendance on the first day because 2 things happened. First, teachers read my name on the class list and did a long inhale before they took a guess at my last name. A lot of people got it wrong and said Komizarek instead of Komizarek. That was bad enough, but when I raised my hand, sometimes there was an awkward pause while they looked at me, thinking, "Are you sure you're you?" Because when people hear Ezra Komizarek, they expect a pale European kid. My dad immigrated to Canada from Poland, but my mom was from Trinidad. Growing up, when I had to pick a crayon for self-portraits, I usually chose Gold Fusion. On the first day of 6th grade, I answered to my name, and our teacher actually said, "Oh." She quickly cleared her throat and moved on, so most kids didn't even notice, but the tall black kid next to me leaned over and whispered, "She thought you'd be white." He'd giggled, and just like that, Ty and I were friends. Ty introduced us to Kevin, and then we were 4. 4 was perfect. With 3, someone could feel left out, but 4 was even and not too complicated. There were 4 Ghostbusters, 4 Beatles, 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was friendly with most people at school, but the Juicy 4 felt like home base. I had a recital coming up, so I grabbed my guitar and practiced while I waited for Colby to write me back. My phone stayed quiet. Maybe he was in Do Not Disturb mode. His parents hounded him about grades, and it must have been serious if they were threatening to ground him over a math test. We'd ended up in different homerooms this year, Ty and me in one class and Kevin and Colby in the other. I never asked Colby how he was doing in class because I knew he hated school. Asking about his grades would be like asking, have you flossed lately? How's the plaque situation around your gums? Nobody wants their friends to grill them on that stuff. Maybe he could have used my help, though. As I wondered whether to send another message, I scrolled through old texts and noticed he'd been quieter lately. In the Juice and our private thread, I had to go back 3 weeks to find the last time he actually started a conversation. I put my phone down, but I couldn't focus on anything else as I waited for the ding of a new text message. But Colby didn't answer me at all. Chapter 3, Situations Like This. Brian. My first day being 13 started with a nightmare. I had to give an oral presentation in class, but I blanked on my topic. I dropped my notes and everyone laughed, and Victor called me loser and freak and ghost. Happy birthday to me. I lurched awake 5 minutes before my alarm and decided to read a scene from The Voyage of the Dawn Treader to wipe the dream from my mind. When I sat up, I noticed a card on my dresser with my name written in Dad's slanted handwriting. A card probably meant he wouldn't be home before school. I swallowed my disappointment as I climbed out of bed. I had the card in my hands when my door burst open. Happy birthday, my brother Richie yelled. Nice underwear. What did I tell you about knocking, I said. He rushed me and pummeled my ribs. I wrapped him in a headlock and we scuffled until I sat on him. He wriggled beneath me, half laughing, half groaning. Get off, your butt is so bony. When I let him up, he yelled, Happy birthday, bony butt Brian, and ran off giggling like he'd made the funniest joke ever. Richie was a goof, but he was decent as 9-year-old brothers go. By the time I dressed and reached the kitchen, he was already plowing into a bowl of cereal. Slow down, I told him as I started rooting around in the fridge. Where's Mom? Before Richie could answer, I heard a wail from her bedroom. It was the worst sound I'd ever heard. I froze, carton of orange juice in one hand, fridge door propped against my hip. Richie's mouth hung open and milk dribbled down his chin. He swallowed. Was that Mom? Wait here. In the 6-second walk down the hall of our little bungalow, I considered the grand unfairness of the universe. Dad was out doing the thing, and now it sounded like Mom was having a bad day. I knocked on my parents' door. When Mom didn't answer, I slipped inside. She sat on her bed with her back to me. Mom? I asked, taking a step closer. Still nothing. Usually there were signs if she wasn't doing well. She'd seemed fine last night, but now it was straight to zombie mode. Thanks a lot, universe. Can I get you anything? I said. Juice? Tea? She drew a deep breath. He's gone. My intestines tied themselves in a triple knot. He'll be back soon, though, right? He said. He's gone. Mom's rising voice made me flinch. See? She held up a crumpled sheet of paper. A torn envelope lay at her feet. An envelope, like the one on my dresser. Mom had one too. It wasn't about my birthday. It was bad. This couldn't be happening. Not today. My hand shook as I took Mom's letter. Julia, I had to go. Don't panic. We knew it might happen and we planned for it. Here's what I want you to do. There was more, but my eyes went blurry, and it was hard to breathe. Dad was gone. A worst-case scenario was happening. He had left in a hurry, which meant someone was after him. Maybe the police, maybe someone worse. My chest hurt. I wanted Mom to tell me everything would be okay, but she was so pale. I need to lie down, she mumbled. She curled into a ball on the bed. I couldn't leave her alone. Okay, think. I'd send Richie to school, then read Mom's letter and whatever Dad left in my room and figure out what to do next. I'd missed a math test, but that was the least of my problems. This couldn't happen today. Dad promised he'd be here. Wouldn't miss it. I closed my eyes and willed them to stop burning. I was officially a teenager now. I wasn't going to start by crying. Brian? Richie called from the doorway. What's going on? What's wrong with Mom? I turned back toward her. That's when I noticed her pill bottles on the floor by her dresser. Lids off. Empty. I scrambled to scoop them up. Mom had 2 blue bottles labeled with 4-syllable names. Pills that were supposed to help keep her from going zombie on my birthday. One beige pill rested on the floor. The others were gone. I checked the garbage can, under the dresser, in the bed. Nothing. My stomach took a roller coaster plunge. I found the phone and called 911. "We need an ambulance fast," I blurted. "My mom, she took too much medication. It's not good." Richie burst into tears. The 911 operator was calm and businesslike. "Okay, where are you? Can you tell me your address?" My mind was racing so fast I had trouble answering, but eventually it fumbled out. "Can you tell me what she took?" I picked up the bottles and read the labels. "Do you know how many pills she took, and how long ago she took them?" I don't know." "It's all right, an ambulance is on the way." My head went dizzy. Mom must have done it before I heard her moan. Maybe when I was lying in bed, rereading one of my favorite books, or wrestling with Richie. We thought everything was fine. We hadn't known the world was ending. Time broke. The clock in my parents' room said 6 minutes passed before the paramedics arrived. But as I tried to keep Mom awake and Richie calm, I swear it took an hour. Then our house filled with strangers in uniforms and everything went into hyperspeed. Heavy boots clomped on the floor and radios crackled and people kept asking me questions. I felt faint and had to sit down. Next thing I knew, the paramedics were wheeling Mom out on a stretcher. Space and time twisted like in a nightmare where you're never sure where you are or how you got there. I ended up in the kitchen making sandwiches, the kind with fake peanut butter that you're allowed to take to school. I didn't know what else to do. Nothing made sense, so I packed Richie a lunch. I figured we might end up at the hospital for a while. "Hi there." I turned. A police officer leaned against the wall with his hat in his hands. He had a curly beard and a head shaved so bald his brown scalp gleamed. I wondered how long he'd been standing there. If he thought packing a lunch was weird, he didn't mention it. "It's Brian, right?" he said softly. "I'm Sergeant States. Is there anyone I can call for you? Do you know where your father is this morning?" My whole body clenched, and I shook my head. I felt guilty about it, even though it was the truth. Even if I knew where Dad was, I wouldn't have told him. A police officer asking about my dad was bad news. My stomach turned, and I ran to the bathroom. I stayed in there a long time, trying to calm down. When I came out, I found Richie sitting on his bed, staring at nothing. "Hey." I sat and put an arm around him. "Mom's in good hands. The paramedics have everything under control." This seemed like it was true when they'd left. I hoped it was still true. Richie's chin trembled. "Where's Dad? I want Dad." Me too, I thought. I wanted to say something comforting, but I wasn't going to lie and tell him everything would be okay. "Pack some comics in your Switch. We might have to wait at the hospital." He wiped his eyes. "Do we get to ride in a police car?" "Yeah, I guess." This seemed to cheer him up, or distract him anyway. He started packing. I filled my backpack with our lunches, my book, and Dad's letters. I was still lightheaded as Sergeant States led us to his car. I kept my eyes closed as he drove. Richie asked 100 questions. My chest was buzzing too badly to stop him. Sergeant States didn't seem to mind, though. "Nope, never been in a high-speed chase," he said, like he was used to answering this question from 9-year-old boys. At the hospital, he helped us find the right waiting room and sat down with us. I wasn't sure why he stayed. Maybe it was illegal to abandon kids in the hospital. Maybe he felt sorry for us. When Richie got restless, Sergeant States offered to take him for a walk. "Want to come?" he asked me. I shook my head. I sat there, alone, sort of. Nurses glanced my way as they hurried past. Other people in the waiting room spied on me in a regular cycle. They looked at the fish tank, then the TV, then the skinny ginger 7th grader in the corner. One lady offered me a Werther's caramel and attempted to start a conversation. My saws was raging after my terrible morning, and I silently sank deeper into my seat. Eventually, she left me alone and retreated to her spot across the room. Every so often, she tried to mother me with her eyes. Other people talked. They watched TV. Maybe they weren't here for emergencies. None of them looked how I felt, close to crying or barfing or both. I wanted to read Dad's letter, but I didn't dare dig it out yet. Instead, I opened my book to ward off any more terrifying intrusions of kindness from strangers. But I couldn't focus on the words. My thoughts kept drifting to Mom. We talked about books all the time. We both agreed The Voyage of the Dawn Treader was our favorite Narnia book, but she made me tell her why. She never let me get away with mumbling that I liked something because it was fun. "You're smarter than that," she said. "Don't be embarrassed about what you love. Words are powerful, Brian. Sometimes they're all you have." Why am I thinking about her like this? Snap out of it. She isn't dead. I looked up to see a nurse bearing toward me. My heart started thumping. "You're Julia Dayson?" I nodded. Words were impossible. "Your mom will be all right. She's sleeping now. We'll move her into a room soon." She was alive. I bit my lip. No bawling in the waiting room with people watching. The nurse said she'd come back soon and take me to see the doctor. After she left, I found a bathroom. I needed to read my letter. I locked myself in a stall and tore open the envelope. Brian, if you're reading this, I had to go in a hurry. If things work out, I'll see you soon. If something goes wrong, well, I hope you'll understand someday. I did a lot of things wrong, but I tried the best I could for you and Richie and your mom. This is when you step up, B-Man. Your mom needs you. She has a letter, and I told her to see my friend that Richie thinks is funny. She might need your help, so I want you to go too. I also want you to talk with him on your own. He has something for you. Keep it secret. Listen, you're smart, and you're tougher than you think. I wish this wasn't happening, but you'll be all right. I'm proud of you. Dad. P.S. I'm so sorry this happened today. I got you something. You know where it is. Happy birthday, B-Man. I pressed my elbows into my knees to distract me so I wouldn't cry. With his letter in my hand, Dad's voice filled my head. Tears won't help you, B-Man. Put on some armor and get things done. Something else twitched in my chest, something ugly and alien. They left me, both of them, and they lied. Dad said he'd be here for my birthday. Mom said 13 would be great. They couldn't have been more wrong. I bit my lip. I had to focus for Richie. Dad wanted me to call his friend Hank, who worked at the bank. Richie always thought this rhyme was funny. I knew where my birthday present was hidden too, at home in the basement. Despite everything, I appreciated that Dad trusted me to figure things out. But I needed a phone. I didn't have a cell phone. I thought about finding a payphone, but when I stepped out of the bathroom, the nurse was waiting with Sergeant States and Richie. She led us to a conference room. Why don't you come with me, love, so the others can talk, she said to Richie. Richie folded his arms. I'm not leaving. Where's Mom? When do we get to see her? The nurse squatted at his eye level. She's all right, but she needs her rest. You'll have to be patient, dear. Richie looked to me. I knew I should say something to make him feel better, but my throat was so dry. Go with the nurse, Richie. I choked out. He huffed, but I guess he decided it would be less boring than sitting in a room full of adults. Fine, he relented. For a second, I wished I could go too. Stepping into that conference room felt as scary as anything else so far. Inside, a man in scrubs and a woman with a government ID tag around her neck sat at a table. Sergeant States closed the door and joined them. My saws ramped up, and my stomach ached. I'm Dr. Hayward, the man said. This is Miss Evans. She's a social worker. In a situation like this, we have a duty to contact Children's Services to make sure you and your brother get the care you need. A situation like this. He made it sound so routine, like families regularly self-destructed on Wednesdays before breakfast. Miss Evans opened a blue folder. She has a folder on us already? What's in there? Hi, Brian. You can call me Kate. I want to confirm I have the right info here. Your birth of date is June 7th? Her eyes widened. Oh, that's today. Sergeant States exhaled. Everyone's face said, You poor kid. I clenched my fists under the table. Kate was a nightmare come to life. She kept talking, and soon she said the words I'd been dreading most. We have a nice couple for you and Richie to stay with, at least in the short term. An acid wave sloshed in my stomach. She had already stuffed us in a box. What to do with the Day brothers? A. Let them take care of themselves. B. Hard labor in the coal mines. C. Eccentric haunted boarding school. D. Lend them to total strangers. I wanted to protest, but I didn't have any better options. I couldn't mention Hank without messing up Dad's plan, whatever that was, and we had no relatives nearby. Dad was an only child. His father had died when I was a baby, and he hadn't seen his mother in years. Mom's family lived in Ontario, and she hated talking about them, let alone visiting them. My family was kind of a mess even before we fell apart. The adults waited for my reaction. Sweat broke out on my forehead as I forced out a shaky response. Can we breathe? Ask Mom when she wakes up. Kate and Dr. Hayward gave each other a look that sent me falling down a well. I don't want to build up false hopes here, Kate said. It might be a while before your mother is ready to make decisions about your care. What did that mean? Was Mom in a coma? Did she have brain damage? Had Kate put a big red stamp on her folder? Unstable? Unfit? We were going into foster care. Even thinking the words made me dizzy. I have to ask you a few questions, Kate continued. Have you ever felt unsafe at home, Brian? What? I shook my head. Have you and Richie ever been left on your own for any length of time? A social worker was asking horrible questions in front of a doctor and a police officer. I knew what was happening. She thought our parents neglected us, or worse. I was alone in an asteroid belt. One wrong move, and my family was doomed. Stop it, I blurted. My family's not. Just stop. My voice wavered. I was a half step from collapsing into a puddle of waterworks and snot. I wasn't going to let Kate see me cry. Hey, listen, Sergeant State said calmly. It's all right if you're scared and angry. Today's been a nightmare. Kate frowned. I don't know if this is helpful. He ignored her. So did I. Can I give you one piece of advice? He said. Try thinking about 10 minutes at a time. What will help you through the next 10 minutes? And if that's too long, try 5 minutes. 10 minutes. I tried to harness the tornado in my head. Need a minute to process everything? Sergeant States suggested. I nodded. He rose. Kate hesitated, but she went along when Dr. Hayward followed his lead. Sergeant States waited until the others left and slid a business card in front of me. I'll leave you in Miss Evans' capable hands now, but if you need anything, he tapped the card. I know this is rough. Hang in there, Brian. He seemed sincere. He was more helpful than Kate, anyway. Still, I only nodded and waited for him to go. I felt like my world had been blasted into a million pieces, and I was about to be shipped off to some alien planet. What I needed most was 5 minutes alone.